Welcome to UWS Weekly, a show that is dedicated to covering United Women's Soccer, a national pro-am league with your host, Jonathan Ward. Each and every week, we will highlight players, supporters, and staff of the clubs we all pride ourselves to support in North America. The UWS is a league that is committed to advancing women's soccer. Happy holidays, soccer fans, and welcome to UWS Weekly, a show dedicated to covering all things UWS and UWS2. My name is Jonathan, and I'm your host of UWS Weekly, and tonight we have a jam-packed show for you. But first, to get started, I want to introduce my guest from the Gretna Elite Academy in Nebraska, girls ECNL director and head coach of the UWS squad, Marcus Kelcher. Marcus, thank you for taking the time to join us this evening. And before we get started with questions, why don't you give us an introduction of yourself, how you got involved in soccer, and your roles in the community?
Sure. Yeah. No, I've been a part of the game ever since childhood. Obviously, grew up in St. Louis playing soccer there. Played collegiately at Missouri Baptist University. Moved to Kansas City with my wife, who was also a player at Missouri Baptist University, and quickly found myself kind of immersed in the game, coaching at high school level, and among some other ODP stuff and club things. Found myself moving to Omaha about 11 years ago, and quickly, kind of found myself in a city that I felt had tremendous potential on the women's side of things. And, after coaching club soccer for a long time and running different clubs, I started my own organization in 2011, Elite Girls Academy, and had a lot of success early on, which was a credit to the fantastic players we had and the excellent staff that I'd put together. And, we worked incredibly hard, and we're fortunate enough to gain membership in the ECNL. And then after a few years of competing in the ECNL, we decided that it was time to get a pro-am team and basically start a franchise, because we had so many alumni at that point. And that basically started the whole franchise situation. And after a couple years of that, we basically kind of looked as in the market we were in, and decided that there needed to be some bringing together of people. We felt as though the sustainability of youth soccer in Omaha wouldn't be there, and we wouldn't continue to move the game forward if we didn't come together with others. And we found another really like-minded club in Gretna Soccer Club. And here in 2020, we now have the Gretna Elite Academy, and so now my current position is, as you said, is ECNL director. I basically run all of our ECNL program from top to bottom, and I am the head coach of our UWS team too. So fortunate to be a part of the game and to be a part of a lot of different layers within the game here in Omaha.
Well, those layers look really good. If you look behind you, the kind of just the idea of what you have out in Nebraska, it's amazing to see the venues and the opportunities that you guys are giving to the youth in that area. So first and foremost, with questions, what is the vision and mission of the club?
Yeah, I think the vision, the mission is to move the game forward. Is to provide a holistic developmental pathway for our players. I think if pertaining to the women's side, I think our pathway, our pyramid, so to speak, is pretty special. We've got a very large academy program and some excellent directors who oversee that. And then we provide ECNL opportunities starting at U12 with our pre-ECNL teams, and then from 13 to 19. They get to compete in what I think is the best youth club in the world for girls soccer in the ECNL. And then for those players that go on to play collegiately, those players now have an opportunity to come back and play on, what I think will be one of the best, pro-am teams in the country. And we've got a very, very strong alumni base, and some really, really good players. And we feel as though having that opportunity beyond club soccer is going to pay huge dividends, not just for the preparation of our college players, over the summer, but also prepare for those college players who want to go on and play professionally. I mean, in the last 5 years, we've had 3 players get drafted with the NWSL, and we have some prominent players playing in that league right now. We feel as though the UWS team that we have can help pave the way for some of those players to jump in and play at the NWSL level too. So, I think from our standpoint, it's just to push the game forward, to provide great opportunities to our females, and to make soccer in Omaha the best it can be.
Well, speaking of pyramids, here at the UWS, we do have our own pyramid that is along that structure as well. So speaking on that, what made it a no-brainer for Gretna Elite, which is part of the ECNL system, to develop and create a women's team like you are currently the head coach of?
Yeah, I mean, it all came down to our alumni. I mean, for years and years, we always had these college players come back and they'd play over the summer, and I would train them along with my staff, and that was great, but we kind of felt that it lacked that competitive stimulation. It lacked that real game, league, standings feel, and we've got a lot of, like I said, our alumni base is very large, so we would play scrimmages against our ECNL teams and play boys teams and things like that, but it just wasn't the same. I mean, they weren't competing for something, and so jumping into a league franchise at the pro-am level was something that we felt was the next step, and we do a fairly good job as an organization of developing college players. I mean, the last 2 years, our ECNL program has produced 41 Division I players. And so, we have a large base of those players that come back. We've got players that travel in from Des Moines and Kansas City to play with us. We just felt like, we needed to provide those players with a real life game situation. So, 3 years ago, we joined a league and won the conference in our inaugural season. And now we find ourselves in the UWS, and we're really, really excited for the upcoming season.
Yeah, you guys are no stranger to the pro-am world, obviously, but what drew you to joining the UWS?
I think 100% the integrity of the league. I think the integrity of the league, I think what it stands for. I think without question, the professionalism of both Stephanie and Joe. I got to speaking to them earlier this year, and I just felt as though, where they wanted to take this league, their vision for the league, the opportunity to play in a pro-am league that is built for the membership. All of those things were quite clear to me from the beginning, and it didn't take long to know that the UWS is where we wanted to have our women playing in the summer. So
because of the pyramid structure and having the youth organization that you do underneath you, what type of players make up your women's team?
It's 99.9% of the players are collegiate players. So, I mean, I think every team is probably a little bit different. I imagine some teams use youth players. Some teams use players that are past their collegiate years. For us, with the amount of alumni that we have come back, 99% of these players are all still in college. So we have a lot of representation from colleges all over the place: University of Nebraska, Kansas, K-State, Iowa State. But then we've got kids that travel in that play at North Carolina, play at West Point. So we've got a very diverse group, but they're pretty much all college players. Now we do allow some of our U18, 19 ECNL players to train with our UWS team and play in games later in the season, because we do have players that go back to these Power 5 schools early. So we do allow youth players to train. They don't play much till the end of the season, but we do like to have some integration for sure.
Well, that answered my next question in terms of the draw from your academy. Obviously, giving them an opportunity to participate and play at the high level too gives them some confidence, but also shows them the different pace of the game. What impact has the team had on the success or the development of that youth program?
Yeah, I mean, I think it gives the youth players something to strive for, right? I mean, the thing that's great about our organization is, I mean, on the field that you see behind me, you'll have our U15 ECNL team playing next to our 19 ECNL team. You'll have our little U12s playing next to the U17s, and I think the girls have an admiration for all the kids that are older than them, and I think the very fact that the most committed, the most talented, they have an opportunity to play beyond 18, 19 with Gretna Elite Academy. They can come back and play on the UWS team, and I think that's something that they look forward to. I think it's something they strive for. I think that I mean, listen, there's nothing better than game day, when you're playing one of these games and you see all of the youth players coming in and watching the big girls play. I mean, I think it's a great picture of what these young players can accomplish if they stay committed to the game, do things the right way. It's certainly something that's really beneficial for our youngest ones for sure.
How does being the head coach complement your role as the academy director for the ECNL program?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm a huge proponent of commitment, of being a quality person, of having a workman's like attitude, of competing at a really high level, and I guess I get the luxury of seeing a lot of these kids from start to finish. I mean, there's kids I've coached for 9 or 10 years, believe it or not, that started with me when they were 11 and now they're 21 years old and they're playing on the UWS team, right? So I think it's I get to know the players really, really well, and with our pro-am team, like we don't take just the best players. We take the most committed players. I mean, there's a certain standard we're looking for. There's a level of commitment that is really non-negotiable, and we really have created and instilled a culture that, listen, this summer is about getting better. I mean, for us, it's not about league championships. It's about making sure those players have a professional level environment during the summer so they can go on and be successful at the college level. I take my job very seriously. Listen, if I do a good job, those players will be better prepared, which will allow them to be better players for those college coaches. And I see myself as someone that whose role and responsibility is just that, making sure that those kids are ready to go come preseason for their collegiate programs.
That's awesome. I mean, you can always coach. You can't coach heart and effort, right? Those are the two things that are hard to coach. You can coach everything else under the sun, but those are two qualities that every coach wants in a player that we just can't get sometimes. Yeah. So what have you taken away? This last year has been difficult for everybody, I think, in terms of having to find ways to stay active and compete, but at the same time doing what's right for your community. What have you taken away from the last year to ensure the growth and success of the program going forward?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is when COVID obviously became pretty prevalent last March, there was a lot of question marks as to kind of what we were going to do in the summer. And the great thing about Gretna Elite Academy is we have a really committed board. We have a really committed director staff, and we made it perfectly clear that we were going to try to create a situation that was as normal as we possibly could for the players. And if that was doing a lot of small ball stuff at the beginning and small groups and following the restrictive measures that Omaha and Nebraska were having, that we were going to stay committed, obviously, to that safety protocol restrictions. But whatever we were allowed to do, we were going to do for the players. I mean, because I feel like soccer's vital. I mean, sport is vital. And I felt like at that time during the summer, when there were still a lot of question marks about COVID, I felt like soccer was a great outlet for them, and what I told the players from the very beginning, like, listen, the one thing I hope we all appreciate out of COVID is, I hope our new normal, which people, that's kind of a new term, new normal. I hope our new normal is one that embodies appreciation, because I think that we can all be at least from my standpoint, I am so appreciative that I get to coach these young ladies over throughout the year. I was so appreciative for our girls this summer that they came out and they worked incredibly hard despite not having league play, that not having regular games. They acted every day, 3 days a week, as if we had a game on Friday or Saturday. And it was incredible to see. And I think that these players are really itching to play this summer. And it is my hope, and I think everyone's hope, that these players have an opportunity to play games this summer, and that things can get back to a level of normalcy where the athletes are on the field competing, because that's what they want to do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, here in California, it's pretty much shut down. Teams are going to Arizona, trying to go to Oregon and Nevada to get matches in. How does soccer in Nebraska differ from other parts of the country? Normally, when you speak to people and you talk about Nebraska, they think Cornhusker football, or they don't really think of soccer, but they think of the hard work and the craftsmanship that they put into their effort and athleticism. So how does soccer in Nebraska differ from other parts of the country?
I mean, listen, I'm a big believer that if you have a plan in place, and you implement that plan with a certain level of professionalism, and if you're committed to that plan on a day-to-day basis, that it doesn't matter if you're a small market or not. Listen, I mean, Omaha is a much smaller market than Los Angeles, but I still believe that we have every bit of ability to develop great young players, great teams that can go on and win national championships, team that can win ECNL titles, teams that can win a UWS title. I'm certain of it. I just think that, listen, we don't have the same player pool, but if we put forth the sort of effort we're capable of, and if everybody takes their job very, very seriously, I believe we can create great teams. I've been a part of 4 regional championships, here in Omaha, and obviously an ECNL Midwest Conference Championship and a WPSL Championship, and every single one of those, was won off of a lot of effort from everybody that was involved. But like I said, if you look at it, I saw some stats on Top Drawer not too long ago that the city of Omaha was among the highest percentages of Division I players playing currently, so the amount of player from one city, so here we are, this little city, and yet we're producing all of these players that go on and play at a very high level. And a lot of that has to do with the phenomenal effort of our players, the tireless commitment from our coaches, and really a fantastic level of support from our membership and parents.
So that leads me to the next question. We speak on the success, but whenever there's success, there's always things that we can look at. What are some of the challenges you face as a team in Nebraska?
I think certainly the weather is certainly a challenge. We don't have the luxury of having, Los Angeles weather, where we're training, 365 outside. We were very fortunate today. In fact, my 17 ECNL team was playing a lot of our UWS kids outside because it was 50, 55 degrees. And for most Nebraskans, they've got shorts and a short sleeve shirt on.
Tank top weather, right?
Yeah, exactly. Tank top weather. But, I think obviously the weather's an issue. I think geographically, travel. I think travel is an issue. We're stuck right in the middle of the country. So, I know when I first moved to Omaha, one of the big things that I implemented right away was making sure that we played the best possible competition that we could. And we had a lot of great competition regionally with clubs like the Hawks and St. Louis Scott Gallagher and Eclipse and things like that. But, we also spent a lot of time going to the West Coast and playing in your surf cups and things like that. And we felt like that was important, and heading south and playing in Dallas. And, and so, I think I think those are two challenges, just the travel challenge. And then obviously the weather can be unpredictable for 5 months a year here.
What makes Gretna different as a club from other clubs in the region or potentially in the country?
Well, I think certainly having the full pyramid is something that I would say makes us different. I think it's tough to be the biggest and the best too. I think that we are at a size where we're able to provide our membership with a really great product, in my opinion, from a developmental standpoint. And so I think we're at a size that allows us to not just focus on the top players, the second team players too, the third team players, allows us to focus on the academy, because we're not this huge juggernaut. We don't have thousands and thousands and thousands of kids. And I think the fact that, again, if you look at it, we have a very competitive academy program, but out of that, again, our players get to compete in ECNL, which is pivotal for the development of our players. Listen, I'm a big advocate on being comfortable in an uncomfortable environment, and we certainly try to put our kids in an uncomfortable environment all the time. And we also have the second layer of the ECNL. We're a member of the ECNL RL, so we're very fortunate to not only have our top teams playing in that youth league, but also to have our second teams playing in the youth league too. And then beyond that, with the UWS, it's kind of the cherry on top, right? They get to go off and play collegiately, and then come back in the summer and know that they're going to have a really great training environment for every week that they're in town over that summer break.
So this show is based on community. It's what we're trying to bring about and create is community through all of our clubs and the league itself. But how important and impactful has the community been to the success of Gretna Elite Academy? I
think it's been huge. I think at the end of the day, club soccer is a huge commitment from a time standpoint, from an attendance and travel standpoint, from a monetary standpoint. And I think our membership is totally bought in. Listen, we merged in this, we merged kind of sites, sealed the deal last February. And, this summer was kind of the first tryout period that we had as an organization, with the two organizations coming together. And, and I've had nothing but the full support of, like I said, our board, of our director of coaching, Mitch Kavanaugh, of the entire membership in general. I think our families were very appreciative of the efforts that we put forth to get the kids playing out of that lockdown period. I mean, kids really miss soccer, coaches miss coaching, parents miss watching their kids, and nothing was better than seeing those kids back on the field in July. And here we are in December, and we're still playing, thank goodness. And you know what? And I'm appreciative of that because, like you said, I've got a lot of close friends and colleagues in California who I was talking to in Phoenix actually at an ECNL event, and they were describing some of their hardships with trying to play. And so we've been fortunate that Omaha has continued to be up and running, but it's not. But a lot of it's down to just the tremendous effort that everyone's put forth within Gretna Elite Academy for sure.
So you guys come into the UWS and join the first division or League One, and you guys are in the Central Conference. So I have to ask, what team or teams in the Central Conference do you have circled with a red Sharpie to get ready for as league play looks to resume in May of 2021?
Yeah, I think the Central Conference is going to be an awesome conference. We've got some foes that we've played in the past with the Kansas City Courage and the Springfield Demise. We've brought in St. Louis Scott Gallagher, which is a new entry. And I'd have to say, with all due respect to all those teams, I think certainly Scott Gallagher is the team that I circle. I mean, Scott McDaniel, Ralph Richards, Petch, all those guys there, they do a tremendous job. They have a huge alumni base. They've produced top players for a very long time. And I'm certain that their team is going to be full of some tremendous players. So really looking forward to competing against them as the other teams, but certainly them is who I would circle. We play them several times a year with our youth teams. And so I'm sure that their women's team will have the same level of quality that their youth teams have, which is a really high level.
All right, Marcus, we're getting to the hard questions now. So this is rapid fire. You can pass on one, but you're not going to get the next question until you answer or pass, but you can only pass again on one. So here we go. One New Year's resolution for you going into 2021.
Run more.
All-time favorite boots.
The white Adidas Predators.
Favorite pro team.
Man United.
What coach has had the biggest impact on your style of play?
John Walker.
Most embarrassing soccer moment.
Pass.
What is the greatest moment in your club's history?
Winning an ECNL Midwest Conference Championship.
All right, cool. So you made it through that stuff. That was the hard part. Now we'll get into the easy stuff. This is only these are questions only in Nebraska. So only Nebraska natives may know this. Maybe some people who have lived in Nebraska who move out. But so we've got 4 questions here. First question, best Nebraska beer.
Best Nebraska beer. Cross-strained fairy nectar.
Do you call it a calzone or a runza?
A runza, but I've never had one, and I've lived here 11 years.
Favorite go-to dining spot?
Mahogany.
Chili with or without a cinnamon roll?
Never a cinnamon roll. Never even heard of that.
Apparently it's a thing. So, I had to ask, but thank you. So you made it through. That was the hard-hitting questions. Before we go tonight in part, I do have one question for you that, again, we've talked a little bit about this community being a huge part of the show and what we do. What does community mean to you, Marcus?
I think it means everything. I mean, I think at the end of the day, without the local community supporting women's soccer, supporting youth soccer, supporting me as someone who is leading young people, all of this would be impossible. I think my goal since day one was to come into Omaha and try to push the women's game forward. It was try to make soccer better in Omaha. It was to win championships and national championships. And I think the community has always supported me. And even at the earliest stages when things were changed and flipped and done differently, the community has always stood behind me. And like I said, very, very fortunate to have not only great people that I work with and great kids that I get to work with, but a community that supports all of us in the background. So
awesome. Well, Marcus, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I know you just came back from training, so we appreciate you giving us this time to have this conversation. So thank you so much for this evening, and we look forward to doing this in person.
Absolutely. Looking forward to the season, Jonathan. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Marcus Kelcher of the Gretna Elite Academy. in Nebraska. So thank you to Marcus for joining us. That brings us to our next segment, which is called Beyond the Pitch. This segment is dedicated to highlighting individuals or teams in our UWS community doing awesome things away from the field. This accolade could be going to a supporter, club staff, or a player who's doing awesome things to support their club and community. Tonight, I'm lucky to be joined live by Corktown AFC, represented by their captain, Maddie, Fo, Alexa, and Zoe. Ladies, thank you so much for taking the time to join me this evening. I want to say thank you for your effort and everything else you are doing in your community. You guys have recently finished a coat drive as well as a community cleanup. And Maddie, Zoe, I'm going to start with you. Can you provide me some detail into the coat drive and why it was so important for your community?
Yes. So, we were lucky enough to get to help, some people who aren't as fortunate as us in the community of Detroit. It was really awesome to not only see some of my fellow Corktown family. Due to COVID, we haven't seen each other that much, but it was also really awesome to get out into the community and see the amazing people that are part of Detroit. So, yeah. Building off of that, it's just always great to give back to the community that we play in. And, we are a team of good players, but we're also trying to be good people as well.
And now the coats that you guys handed out, does that go to a local youth organization? Does it go to a school? Who provided with those coats?
So basically, kind of how the drive worked was families who, are probably a little bit on the, less fortunate side. They came to this church where we had all these coats laying out, and families would come one by one into them. We would size the kids, we would size the adults, and we would hand them out and give them some candy canes on the way out. And basically, allow them to pick their colors and all that kind of stuff. And it was really nice to see kind of like the joy in their faces and just knowing that we helped them out during their hard time right now.
Awesome. Fo and Alexa, you guys describe the community and tell us about the planning efforts and the effect it had on the community, that cleanup you guys have recently done for Detroit.
Okay, so when we got the call to do the planting around the church, we were super excited because honestly, that's something that we like doing, like being outside, and we like doing anything we can to help people. So Alexa and I showed up and we got to plant all around the church. We got to plant flowers and different kinds of like little bushes. And it was really cool to see how it really transformed the appearance of the outside of the church. Like it kind of brought it from being like a gloomier appearance to something bright and fun, and it kind of made it look nicer. So
so adding to that, we were both super excited to help out. I think the theme of like helping is helping those that are not fortunate. So it was nice to help out, especially the elderly that are in charge of the church, because it's harder for them to garden and plant. We could see it on their faces how happy they were that we were there to help, and overall the appearance just was beautiful. So it was a nice thing that we did.
And it was like really cool to see like their reaction. Like a lot of people were driving by and they would stop and like say like, hey, it looks great. Yeah. Like a lot of people were really grateful, and you could tell like it really just made it seem brighter, and it was an awesome thing that we got to be able to do.
Well, that's awesome. So, ladies, before we part, why is community so important to each and every one of you?
I think also the one big thing is a lot of us, we didn't grow up in Detroit. We maybe grew up like out in, north, south, east, or west, or even, upper Michigan. And we play in Detroit. So it's actually really nice to get to know the community and get to be around the people that support us every summer. So I think community is everything, especially when we're trying to bring attraction to women's soccer in Southeast Detroit. So yeah. Anything else to add, Zoe?
Yeah, I would say community is really what drives us, honestly. We play in the community, therefore we're going to help out in the community that we're a part of as well. Giving back to different parts of the community as well is something that's, very important in community. Essentially, it just means that we're all together. So of course we're going to do things for each other. We try to play and get people out to our games, and then we're also going to give back in the community as well.
Yeah, and then for me, I agree with everything that Zoe said. We're all part of a community, so willing to serve our purpose in the community. And especially when you're fortunate enough to be able to help, I think it's super important. Like, we're all very healthy girls. We're all able to play sports. We're blessed to be part of such a great program and organization. So the least we could do is help out those that are involved and those who support us.
Yep. And then last, when I think of community, I think of unity and togetherness and how we all as female soccer athletes can serve and make a purpose and make a difference and a positive impact into our community. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to join me this evening. Is there anything else that that the community and people around the country should be up for as it relates to Corktown coming up in the future?
You know what? We're excited to hopefully, once COVID is kind of slowing down and we can get out there a little bit more often than we have been able to this winter. But we're just hoping for a good season, healthy staff and players, and go Corktown. Go Corktown.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys giving me the time this evening. You guys I know you're just finishing up with training, so go home and rest, and we'll hopefully do this in person soon.
All right. Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Cheers. All right. Well, expansion has come to the Eastern Conference of the UWS and UWS League 2 as the New Jersey Teamsters Football Club will join the fray for the upcoming 2021 campaign. After success in leagues such as the Garden State Soccer League and the UPSL, the men's side will make the jump to the professional ranks and the NISA in 2021 as well. Founded by Alex and Sabrina Geraldino in 2017, the New Jersey Teamsters Football Club made history in February of 2020 as the first principal Black-owned professional soccer club in the United States of America. Another goal has been realized for the New Jersey Teamsters FC, and today we're truly excited to announce joining the UWS, said Sabrina Geraldino, who is the CEO of the club. With a direct pathway to pro, our women's pro and reserve teams will compete in the UWS and UWS League 2. I am personally looking forward to working alongside the league to push women's soccer forward in North America. So welcome to the league, Teamsters. We're really excited to have you as a part of our community and hope that we get to have a conversation with you all very soon. On top of the Teamsters joining, there are many teams who are looking for players this upcoming season and also holding tryouts. If you're interested, find a local team in your area and see if your UWS or UWS League 2 team is looking for players. This is an opportunity to keep playing or even dust off those old boots and get back in the game we all love. Check out UWS online for information at uwssoccer.com/club tryouts. Well, news broke this morning, and we'd like to take the opportunity to talk about it. So I'd like to introduce Roberto Aguas, the UWS COO and co-founder of the league. Roberto, what a few weeks it has been for the league with expansion news, conference creation, and even today's news about full refunds for the teams. For those of you who weren't aware, this morning our friends at Protagonist Soccer shared the news that full credit for the 2020 season, those fees would move over into 2021. No other league has done this for their clubs, with many only giving partial credit at best, saying it's impossible to give back 100% of the league fees. So, Roberto, thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and have a conversation around this. My first question is why is this move so important to the clubs and the league?
Jonathan, first of all, thank you for having me, and thanks for having this show for our league. We're very impressed with what you've done the first few weeks, and we thank you for your time and effort. We're a national league, as you know, and with the COVID shutdown throughout the country, it's had a major impact in many of our clubs. Additionally, we expect many local businesses to have a financial burden, and with that, we expect some sponsorships to be affected. So for us, this was a way to do two things. One is to perpetuate our philosophy, which is the investment in the women's game has to continue. And this is our way of giving back to that. By us giving back all of the league fees from last year It allows for the success of both our members and, more importantly, for what we founded the league for, which is to have women playing the sport that we love.
How has this been structured? Obviously, no other league has been able to do this. So how has it been structured to ensure the success of the league and cover overhead costs?
To say that it was a difficult conversation, I can say that it was. We spent a lot of time internally speaking through the financial structure of what we're looking to do in the next 3 years. But we have a couple of things that I think that's been true about us that has allowed us to do this. First, we have a very, very low overhead. One of the things we did as a business plan when we first started the league was to keep it as tight of a budget as possible. So that allows us to do a lot of things, including some new projects that we were excited to announce in the very near future. Second, we've never taken on debt. One of the things that we know as business owners and as club owners ourselves is that whenever you get into debt, loans, it starts to eat up into your ability to do things like this. Third, we've invested 100% of proceeds from the league from its founding day back into the league. And that we're incredibly proud to say every time that we get in front of people, including the new members. Obviously, Gretna just spoke, and we're very happy to have them. And as many other clubs are looking to get on board with UWS, one of the things that we're proud to say is that we keep investing back in the league. And lastly, as owners of this league, I'm one of 3 co-founders. We can say we've never taken any funds out. And the reason for that for us is that we made a commitment of 5 years to make sure that we invest, we have a top-notch organization made up of great members, and that all of the funds will be reinvested as often and as long as we can do it.
And my last question is, how have clubs reacted since this has been announced? Obviously, it's been, it's still fresh, but what is some of the feedback that you've gotten at the office in terms of the club's reaction?
Our friends at The Protagonist broke the news this morning. We communicated with all of our members last night via email. Jonathan, we commit to offering you the next scoop so that you can have it. Very positive. Listen, we didn't do it for the notoriety or the news. We did it because it was the right thing to do. But it doesn't hurt, right, to be the first league at this level and probably all the levels to give the money back. Primarily because we want to show the world that we want to support the women's game. We think that this whole equality of women's rights, the equality of women pay, we want to live that. We don't want to just talk about that. So it's been very positive. It goes 100% to the values of what we funded the league, which is to have more people, organizations, and investment in the game of soccer for women, especially because we want the next generation of women, young ladies, to be able to grow up and have a place to play. Our goal ultimately is to position ourselves in a way that we can support the next movement to professional leagues. We think that there's still a big gap between the pro-am and the professional side in the U.S., and we're working very hard to make sure that we close that gap.
Awesome. Was there anything else we missed, or anything else that you would like to share with us before we part ways this evening?
Yeah, I'll say 2 things. One is we want to send our best to all of our organizations around the country that have been dealing, like all of us, with the COVID situation. We've been very impressed with the things that they've been doing to, one, stay financially viable, and more importantly, to keep these young ladies and women playing. And then second, if you haven't checked this out, if you haven't looked into the UWS, we encourage you to visit our website to speak to one of our executives. We'd love to have you join us. So thank you for having me tonight, Jonathan.
Thank you, Roberto. I really appreciate your time. I know you've got a lot of snow that you're probably having to get around from the garage. So thank you, and we hope to have this conversation again soon in person.
I look forward to it.
All right. Cheers, my friend. Happy holidays. Thank you to our partner, Techni Football. Techni is an app to help players develop strong training habits on their own through repetition, tracking, and competition. Former U.S. national team and professional player Yael Averbush puts out a new training session every week with guest players and exciting new challenges regularly. Check it out in your app store or for Android. and get a 7-day free trial. Check out Techni Football on Twitter at Techni Football for skills of the day. And don't forget to participate in the UWS Skill Challenge. How many juggles, alternating feet can you do in 1 minute? Both the player with the top score and the one entry selected at random will win a prize pack. All you have to do is follow UWS and Techni on Twitter, attempt the skill, post it, tag UWS and Techni while challenging 3 of your friends. Make sure you use hashtag UWS Skills for your chance to win. This week, we have Cameron George from North Carolina. When COVID started, my soccer club, NC Fusion, and at NC Fusion_soccer on Twitter, gave us the opportunity to train using Techni Football so that we could still work on our technical training when we weren't able to be together. Working on technical training like juggling, wall work, cone drills, and shooting through Techni has helped me improve my skills and confidence on the ball. I especially enjoy juggling and can tell you that it helped me with my first touch and ball control in games, and it even helped me discover my love for freestyle. Well, keep it up, Cameron. The freestyle is looking awesome, and we hope to see more of these videos coming from you here in the near future. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for UWS Weekly. You can follow all things UWS and UWS2 on their social media pages and send your questions for future shows as well. Due to the holiday, we will have next week will be taking place on Tuesday, the 29th of December at 7:30 Eastern, but yet it will be returning to Thursdays starting January the 7th. So join us next Tuesday as we are joined by members of the Unity FC community from UWS2. So until Tuesday, happy holidays, everyone. Have a great evening, wonderful Christmas, and cheers.